and all these other categories, that you begin to put things together, that it begins to divide and conquer us, and then that divide and conquer us in a sense. So how does that look for justice? So when you begin to look at justice and you begin to look at that, like the young man was saying, that this is country, other people, for the people, by the people. So how can people say bad government is bad? A government that's supposed to be for the people, other people, by the people, can possibly be bad unless the people are bad. Because then if you got bad people, the government's going to be bad. And if the bad people are being manipulated, then it's going to be bad. And that's what the issue, and that's what we under. We under, when you look at the whole movement and you look at Toledo as an oppressed system where we have an opportunity to really push the envelope here, because there's a lot of things going wrong here, but the envelope has been pushed here where the negative emotions stop people from coming together. It stops people from seeing the possibilities. It makes us begin to be adversarial, because especially the activists who feel negative about what's going on. So if you feel negative about what's going on, what is your thinking going to be? Huh? Negative. So what are you going to change with a negative attitude? No, we're going to attack each other. We're going to attack each other because you didn't do the perfect thing, you didn't do that, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do that, and you didn't do this. And then we're going to have our little groups, and we're going to be this group, and that group, and this group, and that group, and this group, and this group, and that group. And then, we're never going to come together because we're going to be attacking each other, because none of us are perfect, and none of us are always going to make good decisions. But we got to understand that the whole system is attacking our emotionality. That once we don't understand what the game is, that we never go anywhere. That's especially in Toledo. Nothing never goes no place here. It only goes so far, and then it just drops off a cliff. And it drops off a cliff because of the psychological environment here, that we've been so infiltrated with negative emotions that we couldn't even see the possibility of occupy. That's why we buried it. It was buried before it got started, because the consciousness here buries everything in those negative emotions. And that, so as I begin to conclude, is that's what's before us. It's not, because we can't be against nuclear power. We can't be against anything, because when you're against anything, you will be negative, and then that negative consciousness will create negative situations, especially on interactions where that it will usually fall apart. So we got to be for what we want. And then we have to understand that every need needs to be met, and that we all have to work together as groups, because if we don't work together as groups, we ain't get nowhere. And then when you talk about race in Toledo, in the Midwest, which is the most racist, bigoted part of the United States, because of the jobs and how it used to be here, where they gave everybody their toys and this, that, and the other, and then everybody was satisfied because there was a lot of jobs and so on and so forth, but it divided and conquered us. Who's going to get the toys? And now that they done took the money away, it left a vacuum that ain't nobody getting their toys, and they still have those negative attitudes about this person and that person, about, living over on the east side and living next to that, because they don't want to mix here and this and that, and the whole psychology of people in Toledo when it comes to race is so terrible. There's never no conversation. There's no nothing. And all those negative emotions begin to just drive us to the point where Toledo is the 8th worst place to live in, number 1 going into poverty, and we're driving it, not them. See, we think that they're driving it. We always talk about the enemy. The enemy is us, because they done infiltrated us with negative emotions, which we looking at where we're trying to go to with a negative mentality, and then we attack all the people who going to help us. So how are we going to get there? We ain't. We just going to attack each other. We came to one meeting about kicking somebody in about this. Instead of having conflict resolution and resolving it, it becomes this, that, and the other. And all those little tips for tats drive people apart. It drives people away. And it takes us off what we're trying to do. And it's hopefully that's what this meeting's goal and objective is really to bring us together so that we can say, hey, we want to die one by one or all together. But, or else we're going to succeed. So, that's into my, I want to leave right there, is that we have to worry about the psychological warfare that's going on against us Because if we don't address that issue, all the other issues are just going to be, they don't have to worry about us doing anything because it's going to be like Pilate. We gave them Jesus and Barabbas. They chose Jesus, because they psychologically set them all up to choose Jesus, and that's what they set us up, to lose, to fail, and to try to do anything and to lose and to fail. After a while, you're just going to get tired of doing it because nobody likes to fail constantly. But when we attack each other and look at the goal and objective in a negative mentality, we will never move forward because we will, all the data and how we're going to fix it, we won't have the creativity to come up with ways that they would never thought that we would come up with, and we would hit them before they even know what happened to them. But we will stay in this little construct and they will see everything that we do. Oh, they're on Facebook. Oh, they're telling them what they do. And the same set of situations that they gave us to manipulate us to make sure that failure is imminent and that the movement will never go anywhere because everybody will have a negative mentality, and that negative mentality will create negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts will create negative behavior, and that negative behavior will never move us to where we need to go. And that's it.
I really think that was a good framework to start out from, because and